today, when we're here talking, we want to share with everyone a lot of information. Some of it might be a recap, some of it might be new information, new updates, but ultimately we're going to walk you through a presentation which you all will have. ECPR, our PR agency, will send that to you. So you'll have images, you'll have information, and that you could obviously share with your newsrooms. But today, I have a very esteemed panel sitting up here with me, and I want to introduce everyone. I'll start from the far right, working to my left. I have Chris Scott with CA Icon, our project manager. Andy Locknane, he is president of Austin FC. Jonathan Emmett is with Gensler. He's a principal and lead sports designer for Gensler. To my left is Richard Suttle, a very loyal advisor of ours. And then to Richard's left is Jack Archer with Austin Commercial. So today, like I mentioned, we have a lot of information to share. We'll get into the agenda a little bit. The people who are here, again, you'll all get this. But in terms of the agenda, we wanted to give you a general project update. We wanted to talk a little bit about the design process, wanted to get into our schedule, wanted to get into construction. Is the mic okay? Is everyone hearing me well enough? Okay, great. And we want to give you a kind of a look forward with what some of the things you can expect, and we'll have ample time for a summary and some questions and answers. Our purpose today is really is just to sit down and have a discussion with you guys. About a year ago, we were fortunate to receive a 7-4 vote from the Austin City Council, which effectively made Austin FC a reality. And that vote to bring Austin FC and Major League Sports to Austin was the result of a very transparent process that happened over many months. We had 11 community meetings. We had 8 city council votes. And today is really to bring you fully up to speed on our public-private partnership with the City of Austin. We have, since day one, and will always pride ourselves as a community Austin, or as a community asset for Austin, so we wanted to share this update with you. We'll first get into a general project update, and a lot of this, you guys may be familiar with some of this information, but if not, if it's new, that's great too. So the entire private investment coming to Austin, it consists of a team, a soccer park and stadium, and ultimately a training facility. It's about a $500 million private investment to bring Major League Sports to Austin, and Two Oak Ventures is thrilled to be able to do that. As far as the stadium itself, right now we're estimating the total all-in cost of the stadium to be $242 million. This, as a reminder, is 100% privately funded. It comes at zero cost to the city. Additionally, there is zero impact on taxation here in Austin. There is no negative tax impact on this stadium. Additionally, when we're done with this, a soccer park and stadium, which you're going to learn a lot more about today, is going to be given to the City of Austin, and the City of Austin will continue to own the land at McCalla Place, and they'll own the venue and the soccer park. If you look at the terms of the deal a little bit more specifically, and a lot of this is going to be a reminder, over the course of our initial term, which is 20 years, we're going to be paying over $8 million in rent. The impact, economic, job output, et cetera, and this is a study done by the City of Austin. A firm they hired, Brailsford and Dunleavy, came up with very conservative estimates that during construction there would be over 1,000 jobs, whether it's city, county, that would be involved with this project, and it's certainly a 9-figure economic impact. There would also be a recurring annual impact with this project that would see hundreds of jobs being created, with tens of millions of dollars coming to the city and the county on an annual basis. One of the things that we also wanted to commit with the City of Austin is a set of distinct community benefits that will start in 2021 that will total a minimum of $36 million. And what we did along the way, since we're already here up and running as a member of the community, we decided to bring many of those community benefits forward to 2019 and 2020, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And those are just the community benefits we promised as part of our lease and development agreement with the city. Obviously, there will be many more benefits that will be derived. If you look back at the past several months, roughly a year, there are some significant milestones we reached. First and foremost, we came up with a guarantee to the city that this will happen. We gained MLS approval. Commissioner Don Garber, Mayor Steve Adler, our chairman and CEO, Anthony Precourt, made it official on January 15th when we welcomed Austin FC officially as the 27th franchise of Major League Soccer. We put together our base stadium plan with our friends at the city on March 1st, which was a deadline date. We put together our construction contract with Austin Commercial by April 1st. We've done a variety of site tests that the more technical people at the stage can certainly talk to if that's of interest. And we've completed successfully, and we'll have a few more of those on a move-forward basis. Our city permitting was approved on June 6th. We opened the Experience Center that you're standing in here in our Kramer offices in early August. And just last week, we received our F1 permit, which enables us to have a groundbreaking here in the very near term. Part of our agreement, and these are two things that we're very proud of because they were very part and parcel with our overall deal with the city. We've made a commitment and we forged a partnership with Foundation Communities that's going to exceed $3.7 million of financial contribution from the club and from Two Oak Ventures. Just April 24th, our new charitable organization, 4ATX Foundation, provided Foundation Communities with a $500,000 donation. And we're in continuous contact with our friend Walter Moreau on our alliance with Foundation Communities. And our affordable housing on site, we expect to have it built and constructed by 2025, which is consistent with the terms of our lease and development agreement. As you look at youth soccer, we have a very significant annual commitment. We want to be relevant in soccer for all levels, boys, girls, youth, adults, etc. And most recently announced an agreement with Lone Star Soccer Club, and we've had a significant amount of activity to date. And just to maybe underscore that and highlight a little bit better, I thought maybe, Andy, you could let everybody know some of the things that we have done here in the community.
Yeah, as Dave referenced, we pulled forward some of the community benefit elements, specifically on the youth soccer side. So for starters, we have a youth camp opportunity to have up to no less than 30 scholarships awarded for boys and girls in the marketplace. We have fulfilled that obligation in 2019. We had 32 campers, 17 girls, 15 boys have participated in the camp scholarships. We have youth soccer clinic obligation to serve over 500 boys and girls in the marketplace across at minimum 10 clinics. We've hosted 6 thus far. We've had over 500 registrants thus far for those 6 clinics. And then finally, we have agreed to issue scholarships to youth soccer players for their regular season throughout the year. And of the 30 that we signed up for in the lease, we have fulfilled 35, so we've overachieved. 21 girls and 14 boys scholarships have been issued.
Thank you, Andy. As you move forward and look at some of the alliances we've forged here in Austin, we're in the process of finalizing a deal with Cap Metro. Thank you to Richard and his partners at Armbrust and Brown. We made a very significant investment into Cap Metro, exceeding $3.6 million, and we look forward to formalizing an agreement with Cap Metro as a formal partner of our organization. Additionally, we've already started to connect with some of our neighbors. There's the Arena Tower development, if you're familiar with our site. It's kind of at 11 o'clock to our site. Cypress and Capella are the developers. We've had a number of significant meetings with them where we're really going to gain some efficiencies with design, with construction, with infrastructure. We're thrilled to have them as a partner. And we're also looking at additional opportunities in the immediate area, including those that could provide access to the site. Now, I'd like to turn it over to perhaps one of the newer residents of Austin in the room, Jonathan Emmett, again, the lead designer at Gensler, who just moved here with his family from Los Angeles. So just like Two Oak Ventures, with a deep love and admiration for Austin, Jonathan and his family have it, and we're going to turn it over to Jonathan for probably the most fun part of the presentation today.
I'll try not to disappoint. Thank you, Dave. So as we start to get into talking a little about the design, I want to back out a little bit and talk about the site and the location of the stadium here. One important factor in terms of the location is that we really wanted to integrate into the community and really build off of what the North Burnett Gateway project has already established in terms of developing the area. We'll get into some of the vision of the venue and the site as we move forward, But some of the sort of key attributes that you'll see throughout this presentation really sort of focus on the notion of being Austin-inspired, fan-centric, eco-friendly, tech-forward, and really kind of creating an active site year-round. And hopefully you'll see that in some of the imagery and slides that we're showing today. So to build off of the conversation about the North Burnett Gateway Neighborhood Plan, this is an area of the city that really has been somewhat deficit in the amount of open space, green space, compared to many areas of the city, and that's something we've really looked to rectify with this project. As Dave mentioned, this isn't just about building a stadium, this is about creating a soccer park. It's a 24-plus acre site, and we're really looking at how we can develop and activate that site for a year-round activity, not just for soccer games, but to serve other events and the community at large. As part of that, we're really looking at how we can sort of build off of the multimodal transportation networks that are already in place and are developing in the area. And then also how we can tie into existing bike trails, bike paths, other paths such as the Red Line Trail that are being developed in the area to really kind of create a seamless network of connectivity and an open space that will serve not only the venue itself, but the local community. So as I mentioned, these are really the guiding principles of the stadium design that we've worked closely with Austin FC since day one to really define what this project is all about. And rather than sort of get into all of the details here, just to pick up on a couple of the key points, every decision that is made about this project, whether it's the building, the site, the environment that we're creating is really fan-focused. Every decision is about making this a great experience for the fan on game day, and then how can we make the site and the building a great experience for the residents in the community when the building isn't being used for a soccer match. Being eco-friendly, sustainable design is an incredibly important aspect of this project and something that we're continuing to challenge the entire design team and ownership team to really ingrain into the project. We're striving for LEED Gold. That's a process that we'll be going through throughout the design and construction process. We'll certainly be hitting LEED Silver minimum standards. That's going to be a guaranteed target, but we're striving for more as we move forward with the project. But every aspect of the site design, looking at drought-tolerant planting, obviously sort of water retention is going to be an important aspect of that. And so really just, again, making this a very environmentally friendly and conscious project. This is the updated site plan. As Dave mentioned, this is the sort of current site plan that has been submitted to the city. Gives you a sense of the overall soccer park that we're creating. Of the 24 acres of the site, we're dedicating over 8 acres of open space within the site. And again, that's really sort of that function of creating a great environment, an open space plan that can really sort of serve game day uses, non-game day uses, and we'll show you some more of that as we move through the images. As Dave mentioned, we've been integrating ideas about where we could put the affordable housing. That's a future phase, as Dave mentioned, but we have identified locations within the site to allow for that to happen without having any negative impact on any of that green space or open space. Some of these images are new. A couple of you may have seen before, but these really sort of focus on the outside of the stadium and how it integrates into that landscape. And one of the main things that we've really been focusing on is how we kind of create those indoor-outdoor connections for the venue, create the views in and out, and really sort of create this park-like environment that the stadium is really nestled into. Some of the images, like the one you see on the top right, which is of the East Club, many of those interior spaces actually open up to the exterior, creating indoor-outdoor spaces that can be used on game day and non-game day, and again, really kind of create that Austin vibe and really sort of play off of the Austin culture and lifestyle. Again, many of the interior spaces are not only designed around the idea of game day experience, but how can we leverage these spaces that support the fan experience and the diversity of that experience on game day, but how can we leverage those to create an active year-round destination for other events, other activities within the venue as well as on the site. This is a rendering you've seen before of the interior of the bowl, but I think it's again important to come back to why we're building this venue, and this is really about creating an amazing game day experience for the fans and for the people of Austin. Fan comfort is going to be a huge part of this. We've talked about it a lot in the past, but I think reiterating that a significant investment is being made in the design of the stadium, particularly with the roof canopy to really create a comfortable environment for the fans on game day. This is one of the larger roofs in MLS. We have 100% coverage of the seating bowl, covering 100% of the seats. Again, that's a very important factor, but you'll see in this view, again, a lot of open corners, allowing for sort of breezes during games, but at the same time creating that intimate atmosphere, which is going to be so critical to the game day experience. One of the other key elements that's going to really create that game day experience is the integration of multimedia through video technology, through the DAS Wi-Fi systems, really making this a sort of cutting-edge, tech-forward building that's really the expectation of the fan base in today's MLS. So again, a new rendering that you're seeing here, an aerial shot of the not only of the stadium but also of the site. And again, going back to that notion that we're really designing this not only around game day activation. So you'll see here, in terms of the site, we have a number of sort of parking lots around the site, but also a lot of these open spaces which are going to be used on non-game day, really sort of bring that activation to the game day experience, whether that's for tailgating, fan fests, concerts, food and beverage opportunities all around the site and all around the venue. And then those spaces then can be used on non-game day for more community-facing events, so whether that be the large open space that you see on the north end there that could be used for farmers markets, art shows, picnic in the park type events, or the event space on the east side of the stadium where we could have community concerts, movies in the park, and other sort of smaller events that can really serve the community. In addition to that, a number of bike trails and pathways that connect, again, to the Red Line Trail that are going to circle the entire site and make this an active use for the entire community.
Thank you, Jonathan. So obviously a lot there on 24.6 acres. We're looking forward to making that a reality. And two people who are going to be intimately involved in making that a reality, or two entities, are Austin Commercial and CAA Icon. So I'm going to turn it over to Jack Archer, who runs the region here for Austin Commercial, to add a little more color and flavor on the construction and our schedule. And Chris Scott with CAA Icon will also be able to contribute here.
Okay, the slide that you see here shows the initial schedule, the major milestones for the project. As you can see, groundbreaking is imminent, early September. Construction is approximately 18 months for a substantial completion for owner move-in in March and April of 21 for a targeted opening in April of 21. So very aggressive schedule. The team is up to the challenge, and we're very excited about it. Next slide, please. One of the biggest challenges that we have on here is, we have a lot of neighbors on this particular project. We have a couple of apartment complexes. We have a lot of businesses. We've got a busy area over here next to the domain. So as you can see there, the main access point that we're going to use for the project is on McCalla Place. That's right now it's basically a back way into the site, but it's the least impactful area that we can use to access the site. As you can see, we have a lot of lay down and staging area. You can see the red rectangle there. That's basically the pitch. As you watch the project go up, you'll see most of the steel canopy and steel superstructure for the project will be erected from the pitch. So it's going to be very exciting, and we
On the previous slide, one of the previous slides, it said that we've filed for our permits to get started on this. We got what I call a phase 1 permit, which enables us to do mass grading and erosion controls to get the site ready to go. We've had a really good partnership with the city of Austin and the review staff. You read in the papers oftentimes about the permitting process and how it goes at the city, and I can just tell you I probably do as much of it in the city as anybody. And when you have good engineers like we have, and you have good plans going in, and you get a good review, and everything's staying on schedule, that's how this project has worked. And I want to really thank Greg Kylo and his group for keeping us on track on that. We have regular contact with the city of Austin and the reviewers and with Greg and his group. We do this in phases. We're working on our traffic plan now, and that'll include outreach to the community so that we're not disrupting their life when we have events at the stadium. And we're on schedule and on track to get the world-class stadium built.
Thanks, Richard. One other thing that we're talking, that we're working in a very erstwhile and focused manner is our training facility. Again, when you talk about the value proposition of bringing Major League Sports to Austin, it is the team, it is the stadium, but you also need a place to train every day. These are world-class professional athletes. We're very hopeful and optimistic. In the coming weeks, we'll have an announcement on a training facility. We're getting much more focused on that, and that it will also be another crown jewel here within the city of Austin. And then this last bullet point, we're very thrilled to announce, and this is new news, we're going to have our official groundbreaking ceremony on September 5th. Commissioner Garber will be in town. Anthony Precourt will obviously be there along with Mayor Adler. So we very much look forward to a couple weeks from Thursday, from, I guess, 15 days, I think if my math's correct. So that's the groundbreaking. Threw a lot of information at you. Again, we will provide this deck for all your information, and you'll have it to reference. So on top of the exciting news surrounding our groundbreaking, I guess if there were one takeaway in all of this is that there are a lot of people, both in the private and public sector, that are working around the clock, frankly, to bring this to reality. And it's not just a soccer venue. This is a soccer park and stadium that is being driven by private community investment, and it's something that can be enjoyed for decades and decades to come by Austinites of all likes. So with that said, we'd love to open it up for questions. We really appreciate everyone coming out this afternoon.
When you look at soccer and the way fans interact around the stadium with each other, how do you kind of see that playing out with this right here?
I'm not sure.
Well, with fans showing up to the stadium and just kind of interacting before and after the game, what are sort of your hopes that fans can take with them when showing up at the stadium, having a good time inside as well as outside of the stadium?
Sure. So, I mean, Jonathan, Andy, you guys want to take a crack at it? Good.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's one of the beauties of this site and having the 24 acres, that we can really create a destination that isn't just about the venue itself, really extend that game day experience, make it a day-long experience, come early, stay late. And I think it's really going to resonate in terms of having that Austin character, this idea of outdoor space, green space, really kind of creating this comfortable environment that, you know, allows for those gatherings and a series of different gatherings too. This isn't just a large parking lot where it's all about tailgating. We will have the ability to have some of that, but it's really about creating these community spaces that really create these gathering spaces for groups of fans to congregate, whether that's the supporters group meeting off-site, coming on site. I mean, we're obviously in close conversations with the supporter groups about how that's going to play out in terms of sort of the processional and getting into the stadium and creating that fanfare. But, you know, in summary, yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of this particular location and site.
You talked about the Capital Metro relationship and how that's evolving. Can you talk about additional bus lines, rail lines, things like that, rail stops, bus stops?
Sure. Part of our part of our agreement with the city is that we're contributing towards a better bus stop situation. That starts out, and then we're working with Capital Metro right now, along with other people in the area, about the potential for a train stop here at the stadium. So and it kind of goes to part of your question too. This is a place that you don't have to arrive by car. You can go to a lot of different businesses, restaurants, and bars all around, walk, have a good time walking to the facility, arriving at the facility, hanging out. I've had the opportunity now to see Portland and LA and the soccer group, which I will fast become one, they have a good time, and this will be a great place to have a good time.
So there are ongoing conversations with local businesses then about parking and allowing for that?
Yes.
On game days?
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of the things that really, as we were painting a vision for McCalla Place, and all sorts of people helped us create that vision, we recognized quickly that this was a live, work, play area in a booming part of Austin, and we really want to add to that, and we think there's a missing piece. Jonathan talked about the North Burnett Gateway project and how we could really create more connective tissue, kind of be the central nervous system of that area. So we like the fact that it is a multimodal transportation spot where you could arrive, via a ride share, via a car, via a bus, via a light rail. The Kramer station's very close by. Who knows if there might ever be a station at McCalla. You could walk. There are, I think, 10,000 pre-existing parking spots within a 20-minute walk. So the fact that there are so many ways to come to this venue on match day or otherwise, we're very excited about that.
Dave, to follow up on Phil's question there of offsite, you mentioned walking from 10,000 spots, within a 20-minute radius. How would that work? And maybe it's too early to ask that question, but would you contract with a business at the domain? Would you bring them on with a partner? Can you just give us any details about the mechanics of that and the way that would work for places around the state?
Sure. We are in knee-deep conversations with a lot of property owners, a lot of entities in the area. Obviously, Austin has a profound event culture, and part of what makes that event culture so robust and so significant is, the shuttle aspects where people can park off-site and be shuttled in. That would be another mode of transportation that I didn't mention. That would probably be a critical part of this entire plan. As chance would have it, Jack, we have Jordan Enke sitting next to you, our VP of Operations, who so we build it, and Jordan's got to make sure it runs. So he's the guy who's going to, be in close contact with our neighbors for years and years to come, and we're thrilled to have Jordan as part of the team. But it's a robust process, and it's an evolving process, but it's a pretty exciting proposition. So I think Richard mentioned that there has been some community outreach, and there will be continue to be robust community outreach. So one of the things we're most proud of, we're committed to being a good neighbor in Austin. That's from Anthony Precourt on down, we're committed to being good neighbors. And that's where in the process to get this done, it was incredibly communicative, it was incredibly transparent, where you have 11 community engagement meetings, 8 city council votes, and as we all know, city council is very open to the public. There was extensive research, there was polling, there was data gathering, there was surveying. So that sort of approach, that sort of good neighborly approach will continue.
And let me break it down a little bit more. We're an event-based city. I mean, we have a lot of events, and you can imagine all the events that go on in and around Auditorium Shores and Zilker Park. And as those events evolved, traffic measures have been put in place, and we've got people on staff now that have done those events, and we'll be working with the neighbors to see what they want to do and how they want to handle it.
We talk about the timeline. You mentioned it was aggressive. I forget the exact term you used. By the board up there, going to be done. Looks like the paint's still going to be drying when the players are going to take a pitch. So, are you worried at all? And is there a contingency plan for it if something goes wrong?
So a lot of people can look at that, and I saw 2 sets of eyeballs look this way. So
He stays worried.
I guess that means me. Yeah, we're constantly worried. I mean, this is what we do. We love this. It's a major investment, but it's been really good. We have, I mean, short of acts of God, things that we don't control, we foresee no issues, but obviously we will address them, if they were to unfold. That's not really avoiding the question as much as, that's where we're focused. We've always, since the first day, we've just focused on our business. That's what we've tried to do. And we're now here in Austin. We're thrilled to be a community asset here in this city of ours. And we're going to continue to try to be a good neighbor and really focus on our business. And we will always be cognizant of potential contingencies that might need to be executed.
Right, like needing a place to stay or play in 2021.
Will be, so just, we had the good fortune of visiting Portland last week. We checked out their training facility, checked out their new stadium addition, and if anyone follows MLS closely, you'll realize that the Timbers started the first 12 matches this season on the road. DC United opened a brand new facility last year in the month of July. So a couple days, couple weeks is of no concern whatsoever. We will work with the league, and we will make sure that we do Austin proud.
How exciting for you guys is a groundbreaking? I know there's a bunch of folks out there with shovels and a photo op, but in many ways it's kind of, the beginning of seeing all your planning, all your work getting put into action. Now, if you start to see Jonathan, if you start to see the results of what we've just seen in pictures up to this point.
Well, I mean, personally, it's one of the most incredible days. I mean, I think obviously opening day is the culmination where you see it come to life and the fans come into the building. But I think this really is truly a turning point, right, where it turns from just being drawings and ink on paper to reality. It's certainly one of the most incredible things, I think, from our perspective, and I think Jack would summarize that as well. But yeah, it's great to see it finally sort of turn the corner and become reality.
Andy, could you kind of piggyback off of that question?
It's representative progress. Not everybody in the marketplace understands where we're at with our construction schedule. The groundbreaking will help amplify that this is moving forward, that shovels are in the ground, structure is being erected, and will be open for business roughly 18 months thereafter. So it's very representative of all things moving forward, which is important. And again, we understand that our supporters are going to be very cognizant of this date, especially now that it's been released. But this helps everybody else understand where we are in terms of our timetables.
And this could be for, I guess whoever can answer this best. For the groundbreaking, will that be a public, I mean, you might have already answered this, but will that be a public event? Will those who have bought in on season tickets and fans and that sort of thing?
So I think we'll release an advisory shortly thereafter. It is limited. It's not open to the public. So just for all things safety purposes, there is going to be a limited number of spaces available. So I think if it hasn't gone out already, there'll be a media advisory that will provide those details. But it is not a public event.
Richard, you briefly touched on the traffic plan and looking forward to 2020 and when that would be released and sort of the average. But I was wondering if you could give us some more details on how you're reaching out to neighborhoods and the process from now until the traffic plan is released. I know it's substantial completion. It has to be done by then per agreement with the city, right?
Right, so we haven't actually had a neighborhood meeting yet. We're gathering data. We're talking to the city about their future plans for the roadway infrastructure, what's going on. We're doing an inventory of parking spaces available in the area, an inventory of sidewalks. And then what we'll do is we've got a traffic engineer that actually has event planning experience. And he will tell us how best to move people without having to move a lot of cars. At that point, we'll go into the neighbors and talk to them. They've already expressed an interest in talking to us about not having people clogging their streets and parking and walking over. So what we will do is we'll start talking to them about how far do they want to go on that. Do they want us to go to the city to have no event night parking on their streets and require residential only permits? That phase will come once we get our data and our engineer gets his hands around all the access points to the facility.
So one thing I'd like to add to that is, although we will take nothing for granted, although we will overly communicate, although we will overly plan, I don't think there's been any venue in America, and Jonathan, you could probably talk to this as well as anybody. I don't think there's any venue in America that hasn't needed time to breathe and unfold and evolve to understand how parking works, how people get there. And I mean, it's a rightful concern. Oh, how does it work? What's the impact on me? And then all of a sudden you realize, you know what? Things kind of come together. You figure out the best way to make it happen. Do you want to add color to that, Jonathan?
Well, no, I mean, I would just reiterate what you were saying earlier about our trip to Portland last week. I mean, seeing a venue right at the heart of the city and how people come to a venue like that is very different from what you would see in Kansas City, where it's a standalone venue out in a parking lot. So every stadium has its unique attributes and its unique situations. This is very much like that. It's going to live and breathe. It will change over time as well as people get used to the building. Season 1 will be different from Season 2 and Season 3 as people learn the easiest way to get to the stadium. New uses come up, new development comes up around the venue as well. So it's an ongoing process. It's not just a one-size-fits-all day one.
If you look in Austin, I mean, everything from Formula One out of Coda, great plan. It changed a little bit after the first one. And then if you go down to Zilker Park, whether it's the Trail of Lights or the Kite Festival or ACL, you get a feel after the first event. You go back in, you change it up, and then pretty soon you got it to where nobody ever talks about the traffic anymore because the plan works.
Probably for Jonathan, how is this project differed or more difficult, easier, surprises or anything compared to other projects?
I wouldn't say it's more difficult. It's certainly unique. I think every one of these projects has its unique attributes, but at the same time, there are a lot of similarities. I mean, obviously, as the league has matured, stadium design has really sort of turned a corner in the last 4 or 5 years within the MLS, and there are a lot of attributes of these buildings that you'll see sort of learning lessons from the last one and the last couple and sort of brought to play here in this venue. But again, I think some of the key factors that really make this a little bit different are its relationship to the site. And I think that idea of really sort of creating a stadium within a park, within an outdoor environment, within a community from day one, as opposed to this just being a sort of standalone venue that's used for 17 MLS games is really a unique situation that we're really trying to leverage as much as possible to make this feel uniquely Austin.
So Jonathan's a little humble, but I'm gonna just add some factual commentary to that. So Jonathan is one of the newer residents to Austin via Los Angeles, but before he moved to Los Angeles in the States, he grew up in England, Bradford, England. He's a Bradford City fan, Bradford City supporter. And the reason that's significant, he grew up going to football stadia all over England, and he sees how a venue, it's a park, it's the town center, it's the pub, it's the school, it's the church, and how it's a really visceral, connected part of the community. So Jonathan has designed this and built it, but he's also lived it. So in terms of creating an extension for North Burnett Gateway Parkway to create a soccer park and stadium, we're all very blessed to have this guy leading the design charge. So don't get too big of a head, Jonathan. We still have to hit budget and timelines, but he's uniquely positioned to bring that to life.
Jonathan, lead for LAFC.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
What was the timeline for your build?
I mean, a similar timeline. I mean, I think the notion of this being, aggressive. I mean, quite frankly, that's the state of the industry. I mean, these buildings, these venues, we push hard on every single one. So a very similar timeline to LA and some of the other newer venues that have come along. LA again opened early April. They played their first 5 matches on the road in a similar way. Obviously, we want to keep it to less matches on the road, but I think the schedule certainly allows some of that contingency, and we feel very comfortable about it, especially within this climate, within this location. It's a comfortable.
So Austin voters are going to vote on Proposition A about 2 months into the construction process, which might prove a little confusing. Is there anything that you're going to do as an organization as Austin FC to educate the public about?
So I think I underscored it earlier, Phil. We focus on our business. The one comment we'll make is, although we're focused on building the stadium and we don't think any sort of legislation and referendum directly impacts us, the one thing that we have a responsibility toward and we're very committed to is this community. And if anything gets in the way of the Austin lifestyle, the Austin cultural fabric, we would be against that. So we're full speed ahead on building the stadium and soccer park.
You've already made a commitment to the affordable housing side of things. Can you speak a little bit more as to whether that's still the design focus of the park itself? Is that still the plan?
Sure. I'll take that one. So we've become close friends with Walter Moreau, who runs Foundation Communities, soccer fan, great member of the community. We've had, 12 meetings with Walter Moreau. Kellen Robinson on our staff is here. Mark Littlefield, one of our advisors, are here. We met with Walter very early on, continued to meet with him, talked to him the other day. Jonathan has met with their designers, CAIcon's met with their project people, so we've compared notes. We've made sure to keep them in the loop every step of the way, and we stay in constant contact with Walter to understand what's really important in his world, what's he thinking about. So it's a very strong relationship, and one that we really look forward to for decades to come.
I wanted to follow up on your, Phil, on your comment about the proposition. While we are focusing on our business, we're not going to let other groups out there that may get impacted by that stand alone. So you can count on us being involved.
Since the site plans were submitted in March, I know this is a constantly evolving process and things change. Approvals come in at different times. Has anything been adjusted, changed in the last 5 months that maybe, when you submitted the site plan, you had to tweak or evolve over the course of time with the city?
Sure, and in fact, some things did change. What do they call it, Arena Tower, the office building there, right there on Burnett, approached us about partnering on various infrastructure and operational collaboration. We've also have a collaboration with another piece of property on Burnett Road now that we've arranged to where we can have an access off of Burnett. And so we had a plan that was moving forward, and when those opportunities arose, they were too good to pass up. So we started adjusting the site plan to coordinate the area. So it'll be more of a regional plan now as opposed to just one piece of property. Anything else? Perfect.
Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good afternoon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you on the pitch. Good job. Thanks, Scott. I wish you